that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS. Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
I moved here for a job 8 years ago, and kind of my career brought me here, and making the shift into this work full time a couple of years ago, I just have stuck around. I'm open to something else, but it's like the universe just keeps me here. And based on some new things that have come up in the past couple of weeks, I think I'll probably be here for the foreseeable future. So yeah, I love the energy of the city. It's not what it used to be when I moved here, so that's the sad part. COVID's done a quite a havoc on it, but I'm just rolling, as I tell my clients, I just floating down my river and trying not to steer the boat, like just letting the universe steer it for me. So
I think that's so important, and we'll get into that as well, most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love Chicago, I'll just say that. And, we've just seen some of the drone footage there, which is kind of downtown where you are as well. You're not that far from downtown, or, no. And, you're there for a reason, most definitely. And it's really interesting what you just said there, that it's now your full-time work. This is your full-time work.
Mm-hmm.
When did that transition?
It's about in the winter of 2020. I left kind of that corporate life behind. Spent all of 2021 really focusing on me. I knew I needed to leave my position, and I loved it. It was, if I would have had that job 10 years before, I don't know, I would have been there forever. I absolutely loved it, but I knew there was something else coming, and the universe just kept pushing me. It was little things that happened, and I finally made the shift and spent really all of last year, building up myself, reevaluating who I was, letting go of all of that extra baggage that we all hold on to, and those traumas and those things that weren't serving me any longer. and doing a lot of that inner child work as well to really step into my own. And now, I feel like every day I get more and more set in who I am. And although I've channeled for 7, 8 years now, I am really more letting everyone else hear the messages. I'm doing gallery readings, letting other people know, connecting with them, and really helping them walk their own path that I've had to learn to walk over the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason I was saying about, it's great that you're based in Chicago is
Mhm.
I'm guessing, well, everywhere right now, but I'm guessing, do you have a lot more sort of clients from that area nowadays?
It really varies. I've got clients from all over the world. I do a lot of in-person teaching in the Chicagoland area, so I tend to pick up more clients from that. Um, but I wouldn't say that most of them are here. It's funny, mine spread from word of mouth, so I've got them in, over in South Africa, I've got them in the UK, I've got, Michigan, I got here in Chicago, so kind of everywhere. Um, that they just hear. So I'm letting the universe lead it as well.
Isn't that incredible? Yeah, that's just
Mhm.
so amazing how nowadays you can build your own platform,
Mhm.
and like you say, word of mouth. It's still very powerful,
Mhm.
isn't it? And
It is.
I think there's a lot more people open, from what I see in America as well and other countries, but
Mhm.
being in America right now, open to getting a channeled reading. But let's just
Mhm.
remind people here as well: you're a psychic and a channeler.
Mhm. Yes.
Well, what does that mean in the sense then when a client comes to see you,
Mhm.
depending on what they need, is that dependent on the modality you use, or is it also dependent on what they are asking for as well?
So I usually use both in the session with the client. So I always start off typically with a channeled message from the Druids, or I have a guide that I work with as well, but it's mainly the Druids I work with, and there's a few of them that kind of pop in depending upon what the person needs. Um, that is a message with me is very conversational. So they ask, do you understand? Do you need any clarification? Really kind of that conversation back and forth that then allows for questions after. Once they've kind of gotten what they needed out of that channeled message, we then transition over to me clarifying anything that came up, because as you know from seeing channels before, they don't speak the way we speak. It's not humanized. So I always say, let's humanize it. Let's make it something that you can understand and take with you to implement or grasp. And then in that session, I'm tapping back into the message because I can remember the messages for about an hour. After that, it's fully gone. But I can tap back in. And at that time, I'm starting to use that psychic ability and that intuition to give them a little more clarity, or really kind of that interpretive channeling where they're telling me something and I'm just kind of regurgitating it back in a different way to them.
Right. So if someone comes to you and they want to connect to a deceased loved one, if that's really what they're
Mm-hmm.
wanting to find out that their loved one is
Mm-hmm.
okay and has transitioned,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd call that more of a mediumistic skill, but how would
Yeah.
you, yeah, see
I
that?
call it a medium as well. I can connect with those loved ones who have passed over to the other side. I always tell people it's not my strength. Channeling is, but I can pull them in, especially if that soul is very strong and is very well connected. So yeah, I can kind of tap into a few different things. And I always say the right clients come to me. They have the calling, they show up, and I never know what the messages are going to be. Even with my gallery readings, I had one last week and I was shocked at what came. I was like, okay, here we go. But it always hits home with the client. And that's what I love the most is no matter who's there and who's listening, it's what they need at that point in time.
I think the reason I was just mentioning Chicago quite a bit was I know obviously I had friends from there as well, or
Mm-hmm.
a friend as well, and I
Mm-hmm.
know how heavy it was hit within the pandemic, and just globally right now, there's so much mental health issues, people
Mm-hmm.
suffering from
Mm-hmm.
long term effects of that as well, and I'm
Yeah.
sure in the big cities, it's had its fair share of people that need help,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah. It definitely has. It's hit here hard, like so many other cities in the world. And I'm just hoping that, the healingness of these shifts of the universe and the energy shifts will really just help everyone kind of come back together, and know that there is more out there for us, and that the future is going to be very, very bright.
Yeah, it's just been a big change for a lot of people, hasn't it? Job wise, relationship wise, and I think that's partly a big part was, that's what it was meant to have done as well. Well, not, I say meant to have done it like it's ordained, but let's just say it has done. I can't, say something I don't know, but yeah, it definitely has done that. And I always feel it's this time of great change that we're in right now, and we've only seen the precipice of it, just the beginning part of it. And there's so much more to come, not in a destructive way, or it could seem that a little bit, but it's not the end. It's just there's change. It's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and it's lovely to see, like I say, that you're mixing that. I see a lot more people, calling themselves, using the words that you did there. You said it, but is this what you promote out there as well? The psychic side as well as the channeling side, and I see a lot more of that. There's more people with with both gifts, and I've interviewed people that would only say, "No, I'm just a channeler." Do you know what I mean? I just want to stick with that title.
Yeah, it amazes me how many people are opening up right now, and have opened up, especially, when I see in my intuitive development classes that people attend, they really grow so much, even sometimes from class to class, just that slight shifting, or working with them, or giving them a new idea, or talking about a different modality that might connect with them. And I think it's part of that veil and that vibration shifting for us on the earth overall. And the Druids talk a lot about that. We're shifting, we're moving, we're raising up to the fourth dimension, and even, the fifth dimension for some people is coming in, and having that ability to open up to it. And I love the fact that society is just open to psychics and channelers and mediums and energy healing and whatever it would be that you come across, because it's really important, and it's there to help people.
That's its core, isn't it? It's there to help. Absolutely, it's there to serve. Yeah. I agree with you. It's there's times that we live in right now are so different to 10 years ago even, and they will keep changing as well. So I almost want to just go back in time a little bit as well. So was this gift always there?
The channeling was not. I believe the intuitiveness was. As a child, I think I had a little bit of it, but I was so just in my shell, I didn't really recognize it, but I would just know things. I would recognize when something was going to happen, or have an inkling, I always called it, of where things were going. It wasn't until, though, I really got into my late 20s, early 30s, that it kind of opened up even more. And really then truly blossomed. I was really kind of going through, if you're into astrology, that Saturn return time was really when it really popped for me. And then I recognized it, and grew it, and worked with it. It wasn't easy. I always tell people, when you're kind of automatically having this shift in energy and vibration, but that's kind of how it came through. And I've just been developing it, and now just owning it as the years have gone by.
Just shifting here back and forth, right? So your website is?
thechanneledsource.com.
Now, you talked about you're teaching here mediumistic skills. I suppose you're teaching how to open, are you? Or what are you teaching? Just explain that for us.
Yeah, so I teach really intuitive development. So how to open up, how to use intuition every day. How also to, really shift into owning those gifts and those abilities, and understanding what different modalities are. Not everyone's going to be a channeler or a psychic, but they might be a Reiki healer. They might be more in that shamanic area. You have to find what works for you. And so it's kind of letting the people understand what that is, and kind of that growth. And so sometimes I'll do different classes on certain things that are within that realm. I'm doing a psychometry class coming up, and an automatic writing class. So, I always tell people, what calls to you, or just try it. Just because you take a class doesn't mean you're going to have to stick with that modality, but you might learn something about it, and you might take it with you into your next class, or it might become part of your toolbox that you're going to have in the future.
Absolutely. So you can have a one-to-one session with you. Do you offer group sessions at all as well?
I can offer group sessions. Yeah. Those are typically done as like a private group that we would put together. But it is something that is available if you're not attending one of the live classes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all your live classes, everything's on the website. Well, on the website, how to contact you as well and book
Yes.
a session. But we'll link
Yes.
everything in the description just below as well. So
Wonderful.
you talk about you don't fight the flow; you sort of go with the flow, and that's been a lesson or an ongoing lesson for yourself, and probably for a lot of us, right? But it's something that you've used, and you use the teachings that these guides give you, or collective consciousness give you. Did you what was the fight there then in the past? Because obviously you've been through a journey. You're not just arrived here. I feel that there's something that you had to overcome. Is that true that there's people in your life that you've had to, there's a journey, right?
It has been quite a journey. I went from being very, working, living to work, loving what I did. I was in a relationship. I was on that path. I was, had the home, the car, the 401k, everything people thought that you needed, that society said this is what you need. And I had worked many, many years to build that. And so, I get to this point where I'm like, okay, this isn't working for me. It's everything I've ever wanted. It's everything I ever needed, but it's just not working for me.
What working in what way? Were you unhappy?
Yeah, I was. My things weren't going right. I was unhappy. Mentally, I felt drained. I wasn't being fulfilled as much anymore. And so I really had to look at my life as a whole and say, okay, what needs to shift here? What needs to change? I was super stressed out. The littlest thing would kind of set me off. So I was like, okay, you're not in your alignment with your life. You're not in that flow that you're supposed to be. And so it was really having to go inward and look and say, okay, what is it that I need to do? And I kept hearing, you need to do this work full time. You need to own it. You need to tell people who you are. You need to really allow others to see your journey and to be able to give these messages and this information out. Because I really look at myself as a healer as well. I help people heal their souls and find their path and find their journey. And so it was really breaking away from all of that. So, I kind of quit everything. I relocated for about 6 months, really went inward and focused on me and letting go of some of that baggage and those beliefs and those judgments and those opinions that I put on myself to say, is that truly what I believe in? Or is that what I've been told to believe? Or is that what I've learned to believe? And keep what I felt was true and authentic to me and let go of what wasn't. And then really step into this power. Most channelers that you probably met, we like to hide under the rug. We don't want to be seen. We don't want people to be aware of who we are. And that was something that I had to get over, to even be able to say, yeah, I channel, and be able to let people know and put my picture on a website. My website years before never even had my picture on it. So it's just really stepping into that to get to this place now where I've never been happier. I have, I don't have everything, necessarily, but I'm happy. I'm where I know I'm supposed to be.
But you could have still been the person that, I'm stating something here, which, you've already lived the life to get to this point, but you could have had everything that you said, was not causing you to be happy in this lifestyle that you've got now, but you had to let that go in order to move forward to get to where you are now. But that's not to say you couldn't have those things again around you and be happy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it was majorly, we always think about the materialism things, and the materialism things are, not actually, or they're important for some things. We need a house, we need a transportation, we need all of those things, but we have to, it's looking at where my life is and what is important for me. So it's not about, climbing that corporate ladder and having that title or that job. It's not about, always having, the friends that say, oh yeah, I do this, or the traveling or the movement I always did. It's about what do I need? When I travel now, it's for me. It's because I want to go somewhere, I want to experience something, or I'm working with a client, or, there's a reason for that. And that's what I love. And I think all the other people around me, can feel that as well. Because, I was told, you're going to lose some friends when you do this, you're going to lose some of your family. I haven't felt that as much. Those people that left, I think it was just a breaking of the parting of the ways, how we have with people in our lives. But it's empowered me even more to really own it and enjoy it.
But if they were going to stay around, they would have done, I think. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that, isn't it? It's never easy to go through what you've been through there. I can tell there's a story there, or stories. How are the family now? Are they supportive, most of them, for what you're doing?
Everybody is very supportive of it. And a lot of them are like, good for you. I think we're always our own worst enemy, where we think, we put judgments, we think we know what everybody's going to say. We never do. And so, and it's been great. And I think they see that I'm happier and I am more content and just loving life every day.
And living in purpose. And I think the Druids, which we're going to talk about very shortly, they promote that idea of living in purpose. I'm getting the feeling that I've been missing a few things in this career on this subject, is that, actually living in purpose is what it's all about. At
Absolutely.
The core of everything.
Yeah. Every soul comes into a lifetime with a purpose and a path. And so what I've been told and have an understanding of is that, as we start walking our path, the moment we're born, sometimes we can get off that path. And so, or sometimes it's a little curvier. We go on and we go off. Sometimes the path can be rocky and hilly, and sometimes it's smooth and it's a nice pavement. But it's all about how we look at it and how we build it. And with that purpose, if we're living within the purpose of our lives, and we're on that path, or we're at least trying to get on that path, when you're fully in that alignment of both of them, your life just spans out in front of you, and it just is simpler. And it's not that it's easier, because I think I still have the things that happen that upset me, and the grief or the loss, or, that's part of the human existence. But it's now how I look at it, and I can look at that emotion, I can look at that grief and go, okay, let me work with it, let me heal it, let me understand it, and then let me move forward from it. Not that I'm going to forget it, but let it be what it needs to be with me right now.
Without ignoring it and, working yourself to death, or whatever we may do to try to escape, but even thinking about that. Which I'm working on.
We all are.
We all are. That's right. Absolutely. No, I think that's true. And as you say, or maybe I say as well, in conjunction with what you're saying, is that, this idea of flowing and sort of, weaving, when things are not so great, and having to go through, certain problems, or, whatever may arise, right? It's life, right? There are maybe some things that are destined to happen. And when those things that are destined to happen, with some, I suppose, free will, even in that destined to happen situation, right? That, that may then shift what our purpose, or what we thought our purpose was.
Yeah, the things that are destined to happen may shift. I look at them as big events in our life that they're going to happen. They might be contractual with another soul. They might be something that your soul decided needed to happen to learn or experience from and grow. And so when it can shift your overall. I think your life purpose overall is kind of set initially, but your direction might adjust. My direction adjusted, with my, kind of awakening and owning who I was, when I finally said, okay, this is where I am. But when I look back on my life, everything I did, where I went to school, where I traveled, where I had the jobs I had, it was all building me up to this point, giving me those skills that I needed to go forward. And so I think that's what it's like for a lot of people that have those big pivotal moments. And it's all in how you look at them. Are you going to grow from it and say, okay, this is what I'm getting out? Or are you going to have it negatively affect you? And that's the hard thing, especially when those major events happen. It's hard to look at that from a positive light, going, okay, this is what I needed. This is going to really help me springboard into the next thing.
When you are connecting with someone, let's just say for, it's turning into more of a psychic reading in a sense. obviously, is there any guides working with you? Is it the Druids as a guide then at that point, or is there other guides working with you?
It's the druids that are around and other guides. Mine, it can be the person that's in front of me. Their guides can also come through, just to kind of help give that information. But I look at it as, I'll have clients that'll say, "Well, I only want you to talk to my guides," and I say, "Well, they're part of the collective. The collective knows all." So it doesn't matter specifically who I'm talking to. They know the information you need to know, because what I give you is what your soul wants and needs you to know right now in this moment in time. And so it's that pushing forward and that understanding that it is. So I only really channel druids and one of my guides, but I had the ability to connect with so many others.
That's interesting. Yes, and I guess you connect with a lot then. And how do you sort of discern with all this work then? Is that something that you had to work on, or you're still working on, or?
I think like anything, you're always going to be learning and growing. The downloads I still get are huge, and the vibrational shifts that I get, or having a new being. I've got kind of different levels of druids that come in, and a new one comes in and he's at a higher level than the ones before. So working through that. So I think it's always evolving, and that's, I think, like anything, if we stop growing, we stop learning, where are we? We're just stagnant. So it's definitely going to continue to evolve and grow. And I love to see kind of how it shifts and how it changes too.
Now, I've got you down here as an intuitive life coach as well. Is that still, that's still something that you do?
Yeah, I also work with clients on life coaching. And so I really focus on their purpose. So it's a 5-week program, which we can add more on later on if they need, but we focus on each of the elements. So, the week of Earth is very, grounding. Okay, where are we at? How are we connected? Then we go into water, which is about emotions and is about where are these feelings coming from, and how do we adjust our life to get on the path, to really live within there. And so during those times, I'm tapping in intuitively. We do a channeled reading at the beginning to kind of say, okay, what does your soul want you to know? And now, okay, how do we take that into the next 5 weeks to really own what it is? So.
Oh, right. So it's really customized then. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every client is different that I work with.
Are you a conscious channel or a sort of deep trance channel, would you say?
I am probably more of a semi-trance channel. I'm not deep. I'm still aware. I always say if the house started on fire, I'd be able to get out while I'm in it. And I don't need someone with me. So it's a little, but I'm still gone. I don't remember, I'm not there. But I have that conscious channel when I'm kind of doing that interpretive channeling, or I'll go into that mode and, people close to me know, okay, oh, she's going in, she looks the same, and she's speaking the same, but you can tell she's channeling. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay. And how do you separate what you're bringing through from the druids from your higher self then?
It's almost kind of like a switch I flip in my brain. And it's very odd. And people always say, how do you do it? And I gotta tell you, I don't know. But it's like I feel them coming in, and then there's just a shift in me, and my whole persona kind of shifts with it. And that's kind of how I'm aware. And it took some time to hone that in, especially when I'm kind of doing the conscious channeling or the interpretive channeling that I call it. To really, but it's like now I know I can feel the difference in it when it's me or when it's somebody else.
Yeah. And then I suppose, coming out of that, you got to ground yourself, and you do that as well as a practice.
Yeah. Grounding, lots of, water, just reconnecting back, is definitely part of it. It doesn't affect me as bad as it used to. I used to be totally wiped. I'd be, like I need 20 minutes just to recuperate. But now I can pop right out, and I'm usually fine. And oddly enough, sometimes it energizes me. The session isn't too long. It'll energize me. 2 hours is about my max that I can go at one time. My sessions are usually, 40 minutes to an hour. So, I double that, and it gets a little much, but yeah.
Was there any inspiration for you on this journey? Was there any sort of coach or mentor in a sense for you?
Yeah, there was. I worked with a woman named June, who was at one of the centers. She's at the Gathering Lighthouse here in the Chicagoland area. And she doesn't do a lot of work anymore, but she was the one that was really there when I opened. She was there when I first channeled. I wasn't planning on channeling, it just happened. And she really helped me work through it and understand it and work through that fear. The fear you have when it first happens and you're starting to see beings and you're feeling these different things and things are happening. She really helped me work through that and understand that it was my choice if I wanted to keep it and continue or if I did not. That it is a gift that you have, but ultimately you're living the human existence and you have the ability to keep it or let it go. And so she was very, very instrumental in helping me. And I know without her, I wouldn't be where I was today. And then after her, and I still talk with her, I still work with her. But I've also had other people that have come in, and it's amazing when you talk about your journey with someone else who's in a like-minded state, you pick up something from them as well about how they work through it or what else is happening, or just in your current state as, energies are shifting or you're releasing something, you just pick up more and more from others. So I always tell people you don't want one mentor, you want multiple that you can kind of talk through and have an understanding with.
Absolutely. Where would you see this going for you then? Or do you not really consider that too much? It's just about the now, because that's all, that is very important, the now is.
Mm-hmm.
But is there any sort of, something aspirations that you might like to do with the work, or as you develop a stronger connection with it?
Yeah, I have a lot of aspirations that I have. I've started 4 different books. None of them are published yet. I just don't feel like the time is right to get them finished and out there. I see myself, as it's growing, I'm working more with larger groups. I'm doing more speaking engagements. I've started making artwork out of crystal quartz and other, precious stones that there are, and, sending those out there. And I always make it. And I'm always like, this is for somebody. I don't know who it is, and they probably don't know, but it's going to get to the right person. In just kind of the open expansiveness, looking at other opportunities and working with other practitioners. I work with an astrologer and we partner together and do channeled astrology readings. I'm working with a medical intuitive right now on how we can partner together and work together. So I always look at anyone I meet as how can we work together, even if it's just a friendship, even if it's just a support, but there's a reason why they came into my life. And it may not be within this work. They might just be someone awesome to hang out with, and just a really good friend. And how can, we grow? I don't think there's any coincidences in the world anymore. I've learned that there's always a reason or a purpose, even if it's just to put a smile on your face that day. That was the reason.
What is being of service to you compared to, it's almost like I want to say, what is receiving to you compared to giving to others? Is there a difference in that type of work, or?
No, I think it's all the same. I think when you give, you also receive. And when you receive, I'm always giving gratitude back to that person. So if I have someone that's just, talking to me through something or, giving me an idea or helping me through a tough time, I just have that gratitude and appreciation, because what I've learned a lot through this work, and especially through the Druids and the message I've got, is if we live in gratitude and love, anything is possible. And we're always in alignment with ultimately where we need to be. And so just kind of looking at it from that standpoint, and just that giving and receiving back and forth is huge. And, you can give a smile and that's enough for someone to receive it.
No, yes, and the gratitude, so important. The gratitude, being grateful for what you have, even if you don't think it's a lot. It's the starting of that process, isn't it? And it's not even a process. Yeah. It just is a good thing to do sometimes. And I started doing it not too long ago, and it changed a lot of things for me. Being grateful, just for the small things.
Yep, absolutely. And I just, every night I end my day with kind of that thought and prayer of gratitude and just thankfulness for what I had that day, even if it was a terrible day, even if it was one of those days where you're like, oh gosh, I'm so happy it's over. But I just gave gratitude for it because I learned something from it, or I experienced something, or I at least moved something forward. Even if it was awful, I had a terrible conversation with, a family member. It was like, okay, but we cleared the air and now tomorrow we can start fresh again.
Yeah. What's it been like dating and meeting people as the work's progressed as well? I mean, how does that work? Yeah.
The first thing is like, how do you tell someone what you do? That's the first thing. It's accepted, but when someone's looking at you like, "Well, are you reading me right now?" You get that kind of weird vibe. So it's been odd, but it's actually been good. I feel like the universe is leading me to those people that are open to it. They may not understand it, they may not work in it, but you don't get that weird look like, "Oh, what is this?" You don't get that piece of it. Um, and I look at it as, maybe I'm opening their mind to something. And if it's opening, it's rolling then for them. And that's part of, I guess, the reason we met, if it didn't pan out from there.
I want to get to the Druids. I think that's really important just to mention them as well and start talking about them. So, for some of us that may not know what a Druid was in the past, and I'm guessing when they came to you, maybe you were not too sure neither.
No, I was not sure. All I knew is this being came to me heavily cloaked. He looked like a monk. I couldn't see his face. And all I knew is he wouldn't leave. Every time I said, "You need to leave if you're not of my highest and greatest good," he stayed. I was like, okay, there's a reason he's here. But Druids lived on the earth from about 300 BC all the way up to 13, 1400 AD. We don't exactly know. They were healers of their time. They lived outside of the towns. They really connected with the energies of the earth and plants and animals, and really having that connection there. And they were all the way in Turkey, and they kind of got persecuted and pushed. So now we recognize them being in Ireland and England. Stonehenge is kind of that Druid pace that everyone recognizes. And there are still some people that practice the Druid concepts today, and have that connection to them. But as a beings that I channel, they have all passed on, obviously, and they really have that ancient knowledge. I know from some of my past life regressions and from my connections, I lived as a Druid for a while, and I think that's why I'm back here working with them. It was part of my path that I agreed to when I first came. And so they just really talk about life purpose, life path, fourth dimension, fifth dimension. How do we heal the earth? How do we come back? How do we grow from it? And just, they want everyone to succeed, and they want to give what each person needs to really live a happy, fulfilling, joyful life.
So important. Yeah, we're gonna get into that as well. This is a collective consciousness, or does this collective consciousness represent itself as just one?
So I look at it as a collective consciousness, but based of the two main ones that I channel, I can tell who is more coming through within that consciousness. One is one that I've worked with for a lot longer, and he is more about really earthly things and those energies, and it's more at that, don't want to say lower level, but I'll say at a level that is easier to understand. Whereas when I channel the other one, who is at more of that higher vibration and higher level, when he comes through, it's definitely at that more like, okay, I got to sit here and think about this afterwards level. He did a 5D download the other day, which I was like, haven't heard this before or seen this before. So there's kind of a lot of those changes. So I think they both tap into the same energy, but they come through a little differently because of what their focus is within as their actual being.
How many would you say are in this collective consciousness?
I mean, there's probably, hundreds. Yeah, it's really hard to say, but it's the information is always new. It's always ever flowing. And even when I try to ask, for the collective to come through, I just see all of these different beings coming through. And there may be more, there might be less. I just really work with the two specifically that I channel with, but there's others that I've connected with, I should say.
So when I speak to them, is there a name they go by, or is that a bit difficult?
No, the first one who's kind of at that lower level, he does have a name he will say. I got to tell you, I really can't say it very well. It's very it's very throaty verbal. The other one, I haven't come up with a name. They always tell me every time I've asked for a name, names are human. What do you need a name for? So at times they'll give me one. You can always ask and say, hey, what is your name? But yeah, you can just really call them Druids or whatever you feel the need to call them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So even just Druid. Okay. So was there a sort of a time of getting used to this energy, I guess, and sort of there were things that you had to put in place, I guess. Do you know what I mean? Like were they disturbing you quite often, and what did you have to set some ground rules or?
Set a lot of boundaries. Really had to let them understand how they could fit into my life at the time. You can't come to me at 3 a.m. and say, hey, we're ready to work with you. So it's really laying out, I'll set aside time where I will work with you. They don't have the concept of, we have to work, we have to eat, we have, responsibilities that are coming up. They didn't grasp that. So really laying that out. And I'll say for a while, we actually, I call it a break. I kind of said, you know what? I need a month, no more. I'm not going to talk to you. You're not going to come to me. And that really helped me decide if I wanted to. It helped them understand. And on that day of that month, they were kind of knocking on the door going, can we come back? And then I was like, no, I need a little more time, so it was a few more weeks before I'm like, okay, you can't leave them hanging here. Like, you've got to figure out what you're going to do. And that's really when I embraced and we laid out the boundaries, and now we have a great working relationship.
Yeah, there's so many more questions I can ask you, but I know that we're 40 minutes into this interview almost. So I think we'll just let you connect and bring them through and speak to the Druids.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and feel free to make it conversational. So, okay. For all of those who have understood what it is to connect, what it is to understand where the consciousness lies, where the peace of the moment is, where you stand within this exact moment in time. Also have an understanding that what is coming is what you are bringing to you, and it is what you are connecting with within this lifetime. For when you allow yourself to reconnect to all, the body to connect to the earth, as it is of the earth and from the earth, the soul to connect with the celestial realm, and the mind to be the counterpart that connects the two together to truly be within one, the body, the mind, and the soul reconnected. When you can have that connection, and when you have that peace of mind, that things are moving smoothly, that you've reset your mindset to, as you walk your path, to let go of the baggage, to let go of those things that are no longer necessary for you. That is when you are living the life that you utmost want to live, where you find that alignment and that flow. But for those of you that continue to push back, that continue to say, this is not what I want, or this is not what I need, that is when you don't feel that alignment. Because these things that are brought to you could almost be in how you accept them. Thank you for giving this to me, and you set it aside as you continue to move on. That acceptance is something that is hard for most to understand and grasp. As you are moving down that path, it is about understanding what is coming. For when you can get past the moment of understanding that what comes to you is always a gift, whether you want it or not, but a gift to learn, you then shift your mindset to let go of the baggage, to continue to move into the different realms, to move into the different dimensions. Because each human has the ability to live in many different realms on the earthly plane. And as you shift into each one of those realms, you are better able to understand what each provides and how the mindset is different within each. Within the third dimensional realm, in that realm of needing and wanting and having and working, the fourth dimensional love, which is of love and gratitude, and the fifth dimensional, which is all about oneness and consciousness in being. The other things do not matter, but it is all about elevating. And it is not to say that the fifth is better than the third or the fourth or vice versa, but it's to say and understand that if you can grasp where you are, if you can live your life of enlightenment within who you are and what comes to you, you will then be ready for what comes next. You will then be ready to explore. And perhaps it is exploring within the realm you are in, but it is allowing you to float more smoothly down that path you have and have an understanding and a consciousness that what comes to you is there. This does not mean that the bad or the hurt will not come as well, or those things you do not want will happen. But is it about accepting? Is it about allowing? And is it about shifting from those that come? Does that make sense thus far?
Absolutely. You've started just at the right part. So you must be reading my questions. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that leads just into what I wanted to talk about as well. So let's just go to it then. Purpose and the path of love in a sense. So, when you're in purpose, that is a path of love, isn't it? I suppose. Love to yourself and love to anyone else it's going to help.
Yes. Love is the peace that accepts all. Love is the part that is missing from so many things. When you have self-love, which is one of the hardest loves to have, which is connected to that self-worth, which is connected to that self-realization, when you have that and you understand who you are as a being within that authenticity, that is where you exude that out to others and they see. The love itself is where all is. Because you think about as the being and the consciousness in the universe is all one. But we are all one of what? We are one of love. We are one of gratitude and peace. And so having that is really what allows you to move forward on your path and allows you to be within that alignment. Because if you don't love yourself, you want to push yourself out of the boat. Because when you go look in your boat, everything you have is what you love. But if you're not in your boat, you're not on your path, you're stuck and you're floating. You're not gliding. Does that make sense?
It does, because that goes back to mine and Catherine's original conversation about, gratitude and flowing in a sense. Well, definitely the gratitude part for that. And I know we're missing little bits of nuances out here, but I know you'll bear with us and maybe just fill in the gaps a little bit. But there's so much to this sort of subject of overall law of attraction in a sense, I suppose it is. Well, maybe I should ask you, what is the law of attraction to you?
The law of attraction is simplified. It is available for people to truly understand how you bring to you what you want. It is a shift in the mindset. It is a shift of where you are. What we look at is above the law of attraction, is living within that mindset and allowing yourself to glide down where you are. So you might think there's a lot of similarities from it. But when you understand the law of attraction, you can understand the principles we discuss. You can understand how when you're flowing and you're naturally attracting and manifesting what you want, you then can elevate within to how do you get rid of the baggage that weighs you down? How do you go deeply within and work with that inner peace to let your authentic soul shine and to let that higher self come through? Because if you don't let it come through, if you live within the law of attraction that says just bring, do you get weighed down? Do you find you have all that you want materialistically, but you don't have what you need at a soul's level and at a higher self level? That is the principles we talk about. So it is a stepping stone from that. And that is how you allow yourself to continue to grow. And once you learn the law of attraction and you're living within the space and the principles we discuss, the law of attraction is already there and it happens. But it is not forcing it, and you're not focusing on it. You're focusing it on yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. And I guess maybe people may say, well, what's my highest purpose then, in a sense? And I'll just say to yourselves, maybe your highest purpose is living your purpose, in a sense, or doing what you feel your purpose is, whatever that may be in the moment now. But I'll let you answer that.
The purpose is always about how you grow. It is about what your soul needs with on your path to continue to move and to excel forward and to be a more evolved being than it was when it came into the earthly time. The purpose can be very vague. It can be about healing. It can be about caring. It can be about knowledge. It can be about experiencing grief, or it can be about seeing the jubilee in things. It doesn't matter exactly. It is not specifically, you need to do X, Y, and Z to fulfill your purpose. It's an overall arching concept. Your path is what allows you to walk through there with different things happening. And when those things happen, it's about how you accept them, how you experience them, how you allow those to evolve who you are. And so that purpose may be about truly healing others, but that doesn't mean you need to be that doctor or that nurse or that person that is constantly healing and fixing and changing. You may, but you also may be that healer that gives everybody a hug you see that knows need them. You're giving them that healing energy. You may be the one that works with children, that when they fall and they scrape up their knee, you're there to put a Band-Aid on it and say, you're going to be okay. You're healing through touch, even without realizing it. You're healing through the energy you're giving. You may be the healer that allows people to transition back into the realm that they came from. You're healing that path as they go, allowing them to let go. So it is not one thing. There are multiple things. But if you live within your passion and you live within what drives you, you will always fulfill your purpose.
Yeah, and like you say, no matter what that is. But if you're living in doing a job that you obviously do not enjoy, right? And you don't really think that, or you don't feel that there's any passion, purpose that you're giving yourself any time for in the day, well, maybe going to the gym might be a passion for some people, right? But I don't think that that's quite what we're talking about. We're talking about that thing that you'd love to do that is part of the reason on the timeline that you are now, that why you're here. If you're not doing that, what are the consequences of that then, do you think?
If you're not living within your passion, you're not feeling that fulfilled life. It is when you think and experience that you're missing that piece. You go home at night and you feel, I'm just missing a part of my puzzle. But you don't know what it is. You don't know how it's there. It is about understanding and reflecting enough in yourself to go, what do I need to shift? Or what do I need to add? Or perhaps something has kept coming up to you. Perhaps there has been an ability to volunteer with people that are in need. And you go, I don't have time. I don't want to. It isn't necessary. They can figure it out on their own. But it keeps coming up because it is your sign from your higher self, your guides or others to say, but this may help you lead you on your path or your passion. It may not be your passion to assist others in need, but it may let you see things from a different vantage point that may take you down to the next place. But signs are given to everyone all the time on how to live on your path. And they're not accepted so many times. You ignore them. Don't ignore them. At least acknowledge them, whether you do anything with them or not. The acknowledgement gets your mind and your soul working together again in a different way to have you see what may come and what may be. And if you're not sure if it's a sign or you're not sure where you're at, all you have to do is ask. You may ask us as a Druid conscious. You may ask your guides, your loved ones, any of the other beings that you connect with, whether it be angels or souls or spirits or anything that comes to you. Ask. And you may not be told how you want to be told, but you will be told.
Okay, we're going to go back to what you're just saying there as well. And even if you're just doing that passion, which could be your what you feel is your purpose right now, as a part-time, or a couple of hours a day, or whatever it may be that you can give it right now, because you may have so many responsibilities or other passion purposes, right? But you're still missing one passion. I'm sure having children is a passion in some respects, right? It's difficult, but you're sure it is, right? But and being a mother is definitely a passion, or a father as well, right? But yes, what I'm saying is that if you're not sure that you're living it, then try something. That give yourself that time back if you can do that little bit of time.
Yes, give yourself the time to explore it. Don't expect it to be the light bulb moment that makes you go, this is what I want to do forever. But take those moments and understand it. And you are right to say that children can be a little bit difficult for those. But when you embrace a child for who and what they are and look at them as a brand new soul on earth who is learning and understanding what a human life is, let them live and be there to guide them. It is not about setting boundaries. It is not about putting them in boxes. It is not about trying to tell them, well, this is what you're supposed to do. Let them explore with that guiding principle. Obviously, you won't let them explore a rooftop if they're too little to be on the roof. But you're going to let them explore and understand. You're going to teach them how things can be. But it is also about letting them make their own decisions, and it's about letting them decide what is right for them at that moment in time. For when you look at that soul and that child as someone you are nurturing and helping to be able to spread their wings and find their passion, you will see your children in a whole different place, and you'll truly understand what it is to be a parent. Of course.
Let's just go back to what we were saying there. Well, I mentioned I was going to go back to it in the sense of connecting with angelics, in a sense. I guess that's what you're saying, to get the answers that you're looking for. But let's just use the word higher self, because I think that that part of us is always speaking to us. Very briefly, what is the higher self of people, and how is it always speaking to us, and how can we tap into it if we don't feel it, that we can connect to it?
Your higher self is the part of you that connects you back to the celestial realm and the soul. For the soul has had to re-inhabit within the body, and the higher self is that connection. It is, some people think of it as the same, and in a way it is, but we view it as different in the way that it is a part of it. It is like a cord that it goes into the soul and the body, and it is still tethered. The higher self is also that true, authentic piece of you. That part that truly wants you to expand, that is there to understand where you are. And if you think of it as God, the higher self can be that God-like piece of you. Because if you look at oneness and all one, we are God. We are that piece. And so when you are able to connect to that, when you are able to go within, whether you connect to it from the soul and the soul brings the information, or you let that authenticity flow, that is how you know where you are. And the higher self will always lead you in the right way, as long as you don't let the ego or the mind take its place or get in the way. But when you are connected, when you are truly within that moment of understanding that the information from the higher self and from the collective is coming straight in and is you are the collective. You are always working within your higher self. And that is how you know where you are and how you to grow and evolve.
so that higher self could even work through just when you feel like you're experiencing intuition, like you just know that this is the right thing for me. It's not a voice, it's just that feeling that's still a part of your higher self or a greater part of you that's coming through, giving you a sign.
Yes. The higher self can work in many different ways. As you just said, is one, but it's how you connect with your higher self. It is how you as a being and that soul and that mind can reconnect. So don't think it has to be one way. You also may connect through your hands, through the physicalness. It may show, you may feel. That is how you know, and that is how you explore.
You know, you've got the power to create positive changes, even though you think you may be in the most dire situation and things aren't working out the way that you wanted, and you've got yourself into a right little rut. You still have the power to create positive steps, positive changes, which is part of the law of attraction, I think, or at its basic level.
Yes, you can always create change. You can always create the positive. It is how you take those moments that are so terrible for you at that time, that bring on those moments of, I can't get out. I don't know what to do. It is looking at what you do have, what steps you can take. Even if you think that small moment of being able to give, perhaps it is money to shift a bill. Perhaps it is reapplying for that job you can't have. When you look at it as, well, let me at least give what I can, but you give it with gratitude and love, knowing that it'll shift and that that small part may not make a huge shift, but will shift slightly so you can see a little more beyond what is in front of you. Those small steps allow, and it is a mindset, and it is understanding if you are stuck within that deep process of there's nothing else I can do. Look within and say, where can I go? What energy can I have? If I can't move, what do I need to let go of? I've always been told I need to do this particular job. But do you have to? Can you shift that into something else? How can your mind and your soul work together to realign more? And how can you learn from that moment? That is when you can allow yourself to grow.
Yeah, and I mean, I hear just so many people sometimes, talking about, I've got the negative thoughts, and I'm trying to be positive, but there are lots of negative thoughts. I think the negative thoughts are fine. I think you can still be positive and have those negative thoughts. I don't think it's the idea of having not trying to numb yourself out or think only one way. I think just live your life and flow with those thoughts in a sense as they come and go.
People look at negative as bad and positive as good. That's not the case. Good is not better than bad. Bad is not better than good. There is duality in life. The human existence creates duality because it shows you the difference. And you need to flow where you are. Obviously, if you see everything as negative, that is what you will attract to, as we discussed in the law of attraction. But if you see it as the negative, but you say, well, why do I think that way? What is it that is causing that? And you can shift it, or at least recognize it, and it can stay. And you may have that negative thought again and go, oh yes, there it is. I will let it go and I will continue forward. That is how you shift and understand that it is creating that duality. Because if all was happy and joyous and good and what everyone wanted in life, how would you evolve? How would you experience? That is why the duality is there, especially in the third and fourth dimensions. You have to have that duality. And that is what is important. So don't think good or bad to any of the duality. Because what you may think is good, I may think is bad. Or vice versa. But it is good for you and it is good for me. And that is what is important.
What is then, or what maybe could be it, or what should be, or what is the measure of success then? Because that also tends to vary for different people. What's your take on the measure of success for the human experience?
Success is how far you evolve during your human lifetime. And it does not mean the lifetime has to be long. For some people think those that transition at a very young age, as an infant, as a child, that they haven't experienced, they haven't evolved. But they have. If that was truly their calling, was to come in, see the human experience, feel the love from their parents, and transition out, they got what they needed to evolve. For them, that was success. For someone else who lives well into their hundreds, success for them may be having all of these different experiences. It may be having that one pivotal moment of experience where they learned the most. They shift their mindset. They understood what it was to have feelings or emotions or thoughts or the ability to have free will. To them, that could be success. So there is no way to measure it. Each individual soul and being measures it based on what that lifetime was supposed to be for them, what their contracts were that they expected to complete or start, and how they evolved and grew during their time on Earth. That is how it, yes.
And
not everything is black and white as you think.
No,
it is very gray.
Yes, that's very true. And some people may, and I know they do feel this as well. How am I getting what I'm getting in a sense out of how have I manifested what's in front of me right now? How did I create such turmoil in my life in a sense, maybe from that perspective?
The turmoil you may not have created. You may at times. We don't want to discount that. There are people that just seem to bring all of this onto them, and we go, why? What is the point? But many times the turmoil comes in one moment that happens that you brought in or was supposed to come in, but it is how you looked at it. For example, you may find yourself stranded because your car broke down. And you may go, this is terrible. Now I have to pay to have it repaired. Now I have to find out how to get home. Now I don't have the money to do the trip or the experience I wanted to. And it becomes this great big thing. Instead of going, my car broke down. What am I meant to learn from this? And you go, it is about slowing down. Is about understanding that you need to focus on yourself. So because of that, you have to take the extra money you had to pay for the repairs, and you have to wait to find a ride to get home. So you spend time looking internally. And then because you couldn't take the trip, you also had that extra time to really reflect in or just spend the time being. It can be being, watching TV, writing, relaxing, reading, walking, connecting with the earth or the elements. But that is what you needed. So it is how you look at it and see it for what it needed to be. That is the difference in how it is there.
Is there always a meaning behind these little things, or is it is that not always the case, but it can be?
It can be. It's not all of the time, but most of the time there is a meaning, or it is at least there for you to see how you reflect and look at it. If you think about people that constantly have much happening to them, and it seems very detrimental to them, but look at how they look at life. Are they living within their passion? Are they happy? Are they joyful? Are they there? You could call it the law of attraction as you did before. But when those big things happen that seem like mountains, if you're in the right alignment, they just look like little hills. And you go around them, or you go through them, or you find a way around it. But it doesn't become this monstrosity that others can make it. Like the car example. Someone may go, oh, well, I had to fix my car. Not a big deal. I had the money. I just shifted things around. That is how you truly understand where they're at. And that is how you make and live in this purpose and live in this realm, to be able to grow and to be able to become the being that you came here to be.
That's almost like leading up to in the conversation we had, have had deliberate creation in a sense. Deliberately then creating the kind of life that you want. And how would people do that?
You create it through shifting your mindset by accepting what you're given and seeing the good or the learning experiences in it. Shift inward and look at what you have. Reevaluate your beliefs and opinions and see if they connect with you. Are they who you truly are? When you feel that baggage, go, do I need this? If you need to look through the bag and see if you want it, do so. If you just want to toss it aside and say, I don't want it, do that. You're not going to toss out anything that you truly need or want. And you can always go back to it. There's many times people are on their path and they put her in reverse and they go back and pick up what they left. And we go, why? But it's what they wanted to do. And that was okay too. And so having those moments of involvement and living within what is it that I truly need and want. And not just on the ego level or not just on the mind level, but truly connecting inward. That is when you will live the life that you want to live and that you came here to live.
And very finally here, because we've been here quite a while right now, but is there a message then maybe for the times that we live in right now? Because there's a lot of change. There's always been change going on, but this feels like a time of greater change than others, or at least it's ramping up that way. What is the times that we live in right now, and if that can link into some final message? Thank you.
Yes. What has been provided for the universe and for the world is an understanding of the duality more than you've ever experienced. Don't worry about what others believe and what others think, but stand true in who you are and look at that person or that idea or that thought, even if it is not aligned with you, with love. For so much change has happened during this time frame. And you may look at it as good or bad, but as we said before, it is not about good or bad. It is about the duality and the differences. Is it about the growth you've had? Have you taken the time to reflect within? Are you feeling the shifts within the vibration of the planet? Are you understanding that your neighbor, who and what they are and where they are? And how do you look at things differently now than you did before? If you can at least look at things differently and understand that when you look at things with love and alignment, instead of fear and unsureness, your path will be laid out. And understanding that you need to do what is right for you, not what someone else believes to be right for you or that connection you have. Because there is no right or wrong. It is all about your connection and your experience that you have and you take away from this. For this is unlike any other time Earth has had, and it will not have an experience like this again for many, many millennia. But know the increase, the shifting, the vibration, and the movement forward has been greater than what was expected. And even though you may say it came from one thing, it was not one. It was the collective. It was the agreement that each being made to come onto this planet during this time. Whether to exit during this time, live during this time, or be born during this time. It is all part of the purpose of moving not only each being forward, but the earth and its elements forward as well. And that is what we will leave you with today then. Of course. And with that, we wish you an adieu.
There you go. look what's
Yeah.
possible to come from that connection. Really, interesting stuff. And what's funny there is it almost started out from the law of attraction, or from purpose and stuff, which was really the direction I wanted to go in with the conversation with them, which was really weird actually. Well, it's not weird, but that was just that was surprising. Yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's how it works. It's shocking how they just go down the path you want them to go without even telling them a lot of times.
Yeah, no, they went straight into that. So, well, okay. I never even got to ask them, questions about their journey or just the other things. But I think it just wanted to show people just what you're able to do as well. And I don't think you've delved too much into these subjects anyway, really, that side of the work, just like that. So, but I don't think so. But
no, this one was very unique. To really connect it back to the law of attraction was something they haven't done before. And so I think that was meant for you and for your audience or whoever will view this to have a better understanding of the connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And now just remind us again, your website is
thechannelledsource.com.
And people
you can find all of my, they can go there. They can find all of my messages there. There's a connection to my YouTube channel there as well, along with my Instagram posts, which are different stuff that I'll post that come to me throughout the day. So yeah, that's where you can find all of my things, or at least a link to what else is out there.
Okay, so if you feel pulled to it as well, subscribe to your YouTube channel as well, because you are putting content out on there. And do you do live Q&As in the YouTube videos?
I have not done anything live with the YouTube channels, but there are questions in the videos I post. They're from gallery readings I've done. And so they do have questions that the audience members have asked. So you can ask that. And I always tell people, if there's a question you have about the video, leave a comment for me and I will answer it. I'll go back and watch the video because I won't remember it, obviously. And then I'll be able to answer it as best as I can. But as I evolve and grow, I'm hoping to do more live things with people through, Zoom or YouTube, where people can really connect with me. Because my main goal is just to get the message out to others and let them take what they want. My whole message might not be for everybody, but if you get one tidbit out of it that works for you, I'm happy about that.
Yeah. I just wanted to go into purpose today as well. I know you can do so much more, right? But I think it's just an important part of the times that we live in right now as well. Or just maybe it's important for me, but it's important for others as well, just to hear that message. So, well, I've thoroughly enjoyed. This has gone quick. What is very long has gone very quick, it feels like. So just thank you so much for your support and for coming onto the docuseries and for your contribution. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been a very enjoyable time. And you're right, it's been very quick, but a lot of fun. So thank you.